Hey, it's Ethan Skolnick for the Five on the Floor podcast on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Check out 5reasonsports.com. Behind us, people still out there on the floor. You can see at the United Center after a really compelling, competitive All-Star game. I've covered, I think this is 11 of these. This was one of the more interesting ones with the new format that the players seem to really like. Came down to the end. Team LeBron wins on an Anthony Davis free throw. You don't want it to end quite like that. But look, they played till the end. They played defense. Nobody was really setting screens. They couldn't really create offense at the end of the game. But it looked like a basketball game, which a lot of these have not looked like. Did you like the new format before we get to the Heat?
I mean, honestly, there's no way to doubt that today was a W for the NBA, right? Everybody doubted the rules. People love to clown on the NBA when they do new rules. I was interested in it when it first came out. I think the target score was a good idea because it gives you a clear incentive along with the actual financial motivations that came with the charity stuff, right? And I think it was like a whole new angle to it and it ended up being a great game. We got everything we wanted, right? You got LeBron versus Giannis. You got something that came down to the end. The only thing was, and I called it in the third quarter talking to Nikias. I said that the game would end, or the worst way for the game to end was on free throws, and that's exactly what happened with Anthony Davis.
At least it wasn't a Harden free throw. That's the thing.
Yeah, and
Harden free throws hit different for some reason.
That's the downside with this turning into a regular NBA game is that you get Lowry and Embiid taking a bunch of free throws and the game ending on a pair of free throws after it being so up and down, so anticlimactic. But no, at the end of the day, like it's a 9 out of 10 pretty much, right? Maybe even higher. It's a great result. Everybody's happy with it.
All right, so let's get to the Heat perspective here now, Alex. Bam Adebayo played pretty well. Jimmy Butler had turnovers on his first 3 possessions. This isn't really a game for Jimmy. Like, this is a game for mostly for dunks and for threes, which are the two things he doesn't do a lot of. He had a dunk early in the game. After the game, though, and you can check out the video. We just put it up on the YouTube channel. He just wants to get out of here. He says he needs to spend some time with his family, his friends. He says, I ain't doing shit for the rest of the week, and then he'll pivot. This was a bigger weekend for Bam. For Jimmy, he's done this before. It was Chicago. He got a nice ovation. But for Bam, and I said this beforehand, this would validate him. This is going to give him confidence going forward. He acknowledged it afterwards. He had a long conversation with Allen Iverson he wasn't expecting. Just people around the league who sort of recognized him and what he's been doing. I think this makes him a different player. I saw it with Dwayne Wade at his first All-Star game in Denver. He came back different. That was in 2005. I think Bam's going to come back different. Going into the next half of the season, or it's basically a third of the season, Bam said the goal, home court in the playoffs. That means a top 4 seed. Are they going to get a top 4 seed?
Yes. All guts over here. They're getting a top 4 seed. They've been able to hover around 2 and 3 all season. And I think you could really make the case that the only teams, other than the obvious, that's the Milwaukee Bucks, that are better than the Heat are the Raptors and the Celtics. So even if you have them as a 2nd and 3rd seed, the Heat can be right there in the 4th seed like they are right now in this moment. And I think they're good enough. I think now that they've played a little bit more time together, they got a solid rotation. Everybody's more or less healthy. They're going to get Hero back soon. They're going to get Myers back soon. I think they got more than enough guys to pound out a pretty good, and they got an easy schedule coming up too.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
It's very important.
Lot of home games and a lot of bad opponents, and we've seen they've been able to beat the bad teams at home. So if they continue to do that, then they should be fine. I do think they probably end up with the 4th seed, and they're going to get Philadelphia in the first round. Check out our podcast, of course, 5 on the Floor. Alex Toledo, Ethan Skolnick, Nikias Duncan. More coverage for you pretty much than anybody else here, and we'll have more the rest of the season.